Since before recorded history, the people of Britain have had first-hand experience of the strange and unusual. Spirits who haunt ancient castles, stories of werewolves and banshees roaming the countryside, and fantastic creatures like gnomes, fairies and pixies, all firmly embedded in our native folklore. This cultural experience makes us uniquely qualified to research these types of phenomena and help us find the truth of the reality that surrounds us. So sit back and relax as your hosts, Irene Allen Block and Mark Johnson, take you on a journey through this strange realm and together help us find the answers to the mysteries that lie just beyond our grasp. Welcome to Paranormal UK Radio.
Welcome to the Paranormal UK radio show on the Paranormal UK radio network. I'm your host, Irene Allen Block, and with me tonight is my co-host... What's your name again?
This happens every time. I've only worked with her for 7 years, and she'll forget my bloody name.
Patch this together.
I might leave that last part in. Your co-host, Mark Johnson. Hey! Hear that thunderous round of applause.
Oh, my God. You've got to get some canned laughter into this, haven't you? Right, are we off then?
Oh, we're off and running now. Let's go ahead and do it. This is just another typical day here on the Paranormal UK radio network.
It is. It is. And it's not my fault.
Yes, it is. You know what?
I'm entitled to get a brain block every now and then. God, look how old I am.
Yeah, but I also think it goes with the Paranormal UK radio show on the Paranormal UK radio network. No wonder your tongue twisted.
It is a tongue twister. It's a tongue twister. I would hate to say that after I've had a drink.
Yeah, well, I'm ahead of you there.
Oh, yeah. I'm on coffee.
Oh,
anyway.
Right. Well, I hope.
Sorry, Mark. I forgot your name again.
Like I said,
why? I never forget Andy's.
No, you forget mine. Don't think I haven't noticed either. That's another check. I have a chalkboard going here. Every time she misses my name, check. There's another one. Oh, look how they're accumulating.
Honestly, I don't. I really don't. I'm sorry.
Well, I think your New Year's resolution for 2018 is to remember my bloody name.
Yes.
Your business partner, hello?
Important things, you know that.
Uh-huh. No. I can't fault you too much. If I'd forget to breathe if it wasn't automatic.
Yeah, I expect you would. Anyway, what have you been up to?
Just same old. Just chugging right along. How was your weekend?
I have, right? I have spent a fortune this weekend. I have spent an absolute fortune. I hit the old man's wallet. I've really done it this time, Mark. Brand new kitchen, everybody. Brand new kitchen. And I am really excited and I'm really looking forward to it. I can't cook and it won't get used. But you've got to have one in a house, haven't you?
Yeah, so it's nice to look at. That's what a kitchen is for, is to look at and make sure it's pretty.
Yeah, but this house has got two kitchens, one here and one on the old original house. Kitchen is on the other side of the house. But, I don't use that for anything other than feeding the dogs in. But this is going to be one hell of a wow factor kitchen. Absolutely wow factor. Went out to buy, right? Are you listening? We went out to buy anthracite grey and a light grey. So you're mixing it. The floor cupboards would be all anthracite and the top would be all light grey. But when we walked into this showroom and saw what I've actually bought, which is, and I can't say the word now, aubergine all the way around the bottom of the kitchen. All the units are aubergine, those big long drawers with all the sections in and everything. And all the ones at the top are cream. And I know it does sound crazy, but it is such an eye-catching kitchen. It really blew me away. Literally blew me away. I had to have it. So, there you go.
Well, like I said, you need to send Brian over here and he can help me finish my kitchen. It's
you know, all the time I've been describing that, my arms have been going in the air, sort of thing. You know, that's the Italian in me.
I totally imagine that, your arms flailing about. Oh, it's this and that and whatever. Well, I'm glad you're getting.
It's a lovely kitchen, though, Mark. I'm going to take photographs. Everybody, they will be on Facebook once it is completed. There you go.
There you go. Well,
and I bought some clothes as well.
Well, you buying clothes, that's an every weekend for you.
Well, that's
typical weekend.
You don't go out to the shops without coming back with loads of clothes. And also, I decorated my Christmas tree.
Well, actually, that's on my to-do list for this evening. So, yep, got to get get the Christmas tree up. It's pre-lit, no water, just put it up, plug it in, and it's ready to go. The less work I have to do, the better.
It's gonna look nice. It's gonna look nice. My one is a bit of a disaster at the moment, but then again, when you've got a bulldog jumping in it all the time, when you're trying to decorate it, you know, it just doesn't work.
Yep,
it really doesn't work.
Well, before we introduce our guest for tonight, I just wanted to mention to everybody about the GoFundMe account that is set up for the Stardust Ranch. And John Edmonds, who has previously been on our show, is currently putting together a fundraiser through GoFundMe to help continue ongoing research at the Stardust Ranch in Arizona. Now, if you haven't heard our prior show with John, check it out on the podcast archives, because what is happening there is so wild. It's on par with the infamous Skinwalker Ranch, which nobody can get into and investigate because Bigelow owns it. Well, John has opened the ranch up to investigators to come in and investigate and document the activity going on there. Everything from UFOs, dealing with extraterrestrials who seem to be a little on the more negative side than a lot of other cases. All sorts of other different types of high strangeness activity. I spoke with him yesterday, and they're still having some really intense activity going on there. I'm trying to get some permission from him to be able to post what they're experiencing. So, you know, but he doesn't have the money to do it. He's working a nonprofit right now for his Helpful Hooves organization. So they're looking for donations. Anybody can help out. They want to put in a security camera system to monitor the ranch, all areas of the ranch 24/7, and allow the public to have access to that. This is one of those rare opportunities where the public can generally get into a place of incredible high strangeness and participate in investigating what is going on there. So there's some great opportunities here. So if you go out to GoFundMe, look for the Stardust Ranch. Anything that you can help donate would be much appreciated. And we'll keep everybody posted on any ongoing activity on the ranch as time goes by.
Yeah, and do you know, he's a really nice guy, isn't he?
John's a great guy.
Yeah, and he rescues horses, people. He rescues horses.
Yep.
This ranch is very, very important to those horses as well.
It is. And, you know, he's got about 14 horses he's taking care of. At one point, he was taking care of up to about 48 horses. So, you know, and they're doing it all in donations right now. So any bit can help. So anyway, we'll keep you all posted on that as it goes. In the meantime, we have a great guest for tonight. We are pleased to introduce Mary Elizabeth Brazil, who is an author. She's written several fictional books, but her new book that just came out, Seeing Ghosts, is a nonfiction account of her own dealings with the supernatural. So, Mary, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me, and Irene. I'm really enjoying it so far.
Watching me mess up, yeah.
Listen to us bicker like an old married couple.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Thank God he's about 6,000 miles away.
Yes, thank God.
You're seeing his ghost.
Yeah.
Well,
That's true.
True, yes. Well, Mary, thank you for coming on the show. And again, your new book is just been released. And could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to write this book? What has been going on in your life that caused you to want to share this with everybody?
Well, Mark, as you said, I've written a few fictional books, and I was having a conversation. My niece Donna, in particular, used to say to me whenever I spoke about my experiences that why don't I put them down on paper? And then recently, I was having a discussion while out in a bar, and we got talking about ghosts. And my friend Tom said, why don't you write this down? And it started playing around in my mind. And I thought, why am I wasting my energy trying to create fiction when my own life is so much more interesting than anything that I could create? So about 5 months ago, the idea started going around, why don't I put down all of my experiences? So it was sort of born out of a conversation, really, the idea of creating Seeing Ghosts.
That's similar to me.
Is it?
Yeah, very similar to me. I had an organisation called Spirit Rescue International, and one of our members kept saying to me, why don't you write a book about your life? Why don't you write a book about your life? Well, I took a few years, but eventually I did sit down and I wrote a book.
Yeah, and did you find it quite purging, Irene? Because I found, there's a real stigma attached to people if they say they've seen anything supernatural. And for me, there was a lot of honesty around the book. I felt it was like a purging, that at last I could actually reveal that, yes, I've seen this. And I thought, if I'm going to really put myself out there, why not put it out there in book form?
Oh, yeah, why not? You know, this is what people want to read. And Seeing Ghosts looks a very, very good book.
Well,
really
I thought I'd try and keep it as simple as possible, because it was so easy to write, Irene, like when it comes to fiction and you have to research and all, but this was all from the heart and from experience. So it only took about 3 months to complete it. It was just so quick to write, and it really was like a purging exercise. And you're right, I'm finding that this is the book that people want to read, much more than fiction.
Yeah, definitely. So where did it all start then, Mary?
What, the actual experiences?
Yeah.
So from about the age of 12. So before that, Irene, when I was about 7, I worked out that I could change my dreams, which is quite a young age. But I kept having this repetitive dream when I was at primary school, and it was terrifying. It was me and my 2 sisters in the garden at night skipping, and then this witch would sort of put her head over the fence and ask if she could join us. And my sisters were really willing and going, oh yeah, come over. And I was looking really nervous and trying to say to them, no, don't let her over, she's bad. And she sort of jumped down from the fence, and then she'd chase us, and the 2 sisters would get through the door, but then she'd grab my leg and pull me out screaming. And it went on for months, and I can still remember I was about 7 or 8, and I thought, no, not tonight. No, you don't get me tonight. And I remember being aware that I was in that dream. Yeah. And as I went to run through the door, I turned around and I booted her.
Booted, for people that don't know, means she kicked her. She kicked her.
A boot to the head.
Kicked her. And, sorry,
you're going to
hear some English.
She put the boot in.
Yeah, so I did. I kicked her away from me, and then I managed to slam the door. And I remember putting my hands up against the glass in the dream, and her sort of just looking at me, and I thought, I've done it, and then I didn't dream that again. So I wasn't aware of how...
So it broke that dream then? It literally broke the dream?
Yeah. And when I look back, I didn't realise just how amazing that was. I suppose when you're young, you don't really... I suppose you haven't got the mentality to be able to assess what's just happened.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, that's quite an amazing thing to do.
It is.
Well, it's one of those situations where, was it a dream, or are you dealing with something that may be on the astral plane, slightly altered state of consciousness? The fact that you were able to take charge in your dream shows at least it was a lucid type of dream, and you had an element of control there.
Yeah, definitely. I've often wondered if there was something more to it, but I don't want to think about it too much. That place was quite weird, actually, where we were staying. I was often frightened of it. There was a staircase that separate. There was like a living room and kitchen, and then the gap between them, and there was a staircase, and I was terrified of that staircase.
Was that where you were living?
Yeah, that was from the age of birth till about the age of 10.
How old was that building?
Huh?
How old was that building?
Oh, it was actually Thamesmead. So it was a new build.
Yeah.
But it was built on marshland. I mean, the history throughout London. I mean, who knows what was on that land?
Oh, a lot of activity. You know, there was a lot of tribes and everything going back to prehistoric times that lived in marshlands.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting Mark's put that level to that, because I just see that as a dream that I changed. But maybe there was something else going on there.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, I tend to look at these things on a much deeper level, because especially when you were able to turn around and boot it, and you took control of your life, and it also changed your perspective after that point. So
definitely.
Yeah, and were you bothered by that particularly entity ever again?
Nope.
So
after that night, no.
Yeah, our dreams are more connected with what's going on with us. Most of the times dreams aren't just dreams or claptrap, brain processing things while we're sleeping. There's a lot going on in terms of the astral, or in terms of alternate dimensions, and being able to reach that point of lucidness during a dream, which is very rare. I know I rarely have been able to do it. And again, it shows you, the aftermath shows you how you were able to conquer that aspect of it. Now, you had also mentioned that you had lived in a lot of, or had a lot of different experiences throughout your life. Do you feel like you're sensitive at all? Like you're able to sense these types of entities, or that maybe they're attracted to you in some way?
They're definitely, I think they're attracted to me, but I'm also sensitive. Like, I stayed in a friend's house in Margate at the weekend, and sometimes you just know, you just walk in a room and go, yeah, there's something in here. And there's a shadow in this room in Margate that my friend lives in. I think it's a man. I can't quite make him out, but he just stands in the corner, and it's a shadow. And the room's not a very nice temperature. There's something about that room. Someone else might walk in and not feel that, but I do. I think I'm very sensitive to it, and I think they are drawn to me.
Well, you are psychic then, in some ways. Sorry, Mary. Whereabouts do you come from? Because you've got like a South London accent.
Exactly, Irene. Yes, South London.
Which part?
So I was born in Plumstead.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I lived in Croydon for 30 odd years.
Yeah. So I'm South London, born and bred. Live in Essex now for my sins.
Oh, thank God you ain't got an Essex. Oh, sorry, people. Essex accents are lovely.
Yeah, no.
I think your nose is growing there, Irene.
Sorry?
I think your nose is starting to grow there a bit.
No, it's just that these television Essex girls and all that on the television just do my brain. Literally do my brain. So... But the Essex people are very, very nice. And I don't believe for 1 minute they wear white stiletto heels all the time.
I can confirm for your station that they don't.
They did in my day, I tell you. Take me back 50 years. Yeah, they did. Oh, dear. No, sorry, people. Sorry. No.
We love our listeners in Essex. Yes, we do.
Yes, I do love Essex. Blue water. I like blue water. That's down Essex way, isn't it?
Yeah. It's more Thurrock.
Yeah, Thurrock. Yeah. Shopping centre, not bad. Okay, let's get on with the show. Now we've done that piece. I should have done all that before, shouldn't we? Right, so where was it where was the next place that you really had some horrific experiences or anything going on?
So I suppose after that house, so we moved from there when I was 10, and then we moved to a place called Leverbottle Green, and that was, do you know, the whole neighbourhood was haunted there. So it wasn't just our house.
Leverbottle Green?
In Leverbottle Green. It was in like Lower Belvedere.
Oh.
So sort of Kent.
Yeah.
On the border between South London and Kent, it came under. And the whole neighbourhood was haunted there.
Why?
There was loads of different experiences that we used to share. Like that was in the book. I say that's where I first saw the soldier ghost when I was 12. That was in Leverbottle Green. And then when I spoke to other neighbours, they'd say things like, "Oh, the piano plays by itself." Another neighbour said she saw a demon outside her window who had pretended to be her brother.
Oh.
So he'd drawn her to the window, pretending to be her brother, and then when she got to, so she was inside and he was on the outside in the garden, and when she got to the window to pull her face back at him, he morphed into a demon.
This can happen. It can
so
literally happen.
Yes, that was like a shapeshifter or something.
Yeah.
So I wasn't on my own there. There's quite a few experiences that came from that neighbourhood, and that was built on marshland.
Was it?
You know what I find interesting on that, Irene, is the fact that she's talking about an entire neighborhood, and there's a shape-shifting element to it, whatever this type of entity was.
Okay, yes, I got to get my ass up there, and I've got to see what this is all about.
Well, no, but what I'm also saying is that's similar to the case that I worked on here, and these areas that have whatever these types of entities are, not necessarily ghosts. And
definitely.
The whole shape-shifting aspect, like we were talking about last week, of some of these. So I find that very intriguing. That it's not necessarily ghosts of people who've died, but something else that might be going on there.
Yeah. Well, that is interesting. You know, in Croydon Aerodrome, they've built on that now, and there's a hell of a lot of activity goes on there. But to actually have an entire neighbourhood, if I could understand it, why not? There's something going on there, isn't there, obviously?
Yeah, we'd all share our stories, all the different things that were happening. I'm going back now. I left there when I was 19, so I'm going back like 30, no.
Did you ever have any really, really nasty experiences there?
Not in that place, no. I mean, the soldier was probably the most prolific spirit I had there.
What was
he?
World War
nasty.
II? World War II soldier, was he?
Do you know, I don't know, Irene. When I was working at the National Maritime Museum, I drew a picture of what I saw and what I thought he looked like, and someone felt that he was artillery, maybe from World War One.
Oh,
but I don't know. I describe him in the book, but I couldn't say.
You know what? I was sitting here listening to you talking, and once you said soldier, I was instantly thinking of World War One.
Yeah, that's the impression that they got when I sort of did a really rubbish drawing, so I'm not an artist. But while describing him and what he looked like and what he was carrying and all, he felt he might be some sort of artillery from World War One, some sort of artillery role. So
what was the situation at the time you saw him? Did it just appear and disappear again, or did you see him walking, or what?
So, first of all, I think that before he materialised, Irene, I think for about 2 months he was trying to make himself known to me. Yeah. Because there was knocks at my door, on the bedroom door, and I'd open it and there was no one there. And then I'd shut the door, and then the floorboards would start creaking, and then my bed would dip as if someone was sitting on it. And then he started saying my name a few times. So this went on for about 2 months, and I never saw anyone physically, but the floorboards would creak, the bed would dip, the name would be called. And then on one of these days, I started walking down the stairs, and I felt someone looking at me. And when I turned to look back up, expecting to see like a sister or brother, there he was. So he was standing at the top of the stairs. And at first I thought he was someone dressed up. And then I realised I could see through him. I could see the door behind him, through his body. He was transparent. And then he just said yes. He sort of punched his fist in the air and said yes. And I remember thinking, no, what is this? Yeah. And I just ran because I was only about 12. So I just ran into my mother was in the kitchen. And I remember her saying something along the lines of, you look like you've seen a ghost.
Yeah.
And I just said, I didn't want to talk about it. But I don't know if, when I look back, I don't know if he was saying yes as in something he was caught in the moment with, or if he was saying yes because I'd seen him.
Yeah. Was this an old house, or was this a new build as well?
That's the house where the whole, like the neighbourhood, all seemed to have stories about what was happening. So that was a new build, again on marshland, on old land. The part, I suppose some people would say it's like the lower part of Thamesmead, so it's still like the Thamesmead area.
Yeah.
But going into Kent, these were new builds, and they were sort of on the border.
Have you always lived in new builds?
No, not always. Not always new builds. Two of them, they were already there for a while. So
no, it's just that I was thinking if the house was older, maybe predated or was around about the First World War, maybe it was somebody that lived there, at one time. Maybe killed in action and returned home. I don't know.
No, this was a new build, so it had no history, not the house. I'm sure the land has history, but not the house.
Yeah. Okay, so where did you go from there?
From there, because I have periods where there's nothing, Irene. As I say in the book, it's all very spontaneous. So I can't remember anything really sticking out after that. I'm sure there was activity, but nothing that sort of, had any mark on me. Because the next one that I can remember is when I moved to what I call Clockwork Orange territory. So it was in a tower block, and this was Thamesmead again. I moved around a few houses in the early years of my life, properties around Thamesmead. And I'd say from about 1992 to 1997, I was plagued with spirits in this property.
In a tower block?
This was a tower block, second floor up.
Yeah. And
so when you're saying for us ignorant Americans here, a tower block, you're talking like it was a flat, like an apartment?
No. One apartment on top of the other
Mark.
until 11 stories. She's saying 11 stories high.
Okay.
Have you seen the film Clockwork Orange, Mark?
Yes, been a while though.
So that is where I lived. That was an estate. So if you see the big buildings in the background of the Clockwork Orange film by Stanley Kubrick, that's actually properties where people lived. People thought that was a set designed for the film, but people actually lived there. Okay,
well that makes a lot of sense then. So,
yes, it was one of those.
So was it just the apartment you were living in that was having activity, or was it? Do you know if anybody else in the building was having activity?
I don't know if anybody else in the building was having activity. I did ask one neighbour because I tried to explain in the book. Sometimes I didn't really want to talk about what I was seeing because I was aware of like the stigma around it. Like sometimes you just can't express yourself because people feel uncomfortable talking about the paranormal and they like to almost mock you. So it takes a lot for me back then to actually say, you seen anything? But I did ask one neighbour and she said she wasn't getting anything. But I had a whole host of spirits in that time. And they used to come to see me in a really weird way.
Well, explain about some of these spirits. Who were they? About how many you think you were dealing with?
Well, sometimes, one day there was just 9. So I said on average, there'd always be between, I'd say, 2 and 9. And what they used to do, I didn't know any of them. I've never seen their faces before. So they weren't people that I'd known from the past. They were just complete strangers. And what they used to do, it sort of gives me chills thinking about it. is they used to shuffle along the wall. So they'd have their back against the wall. All of a sudden they'd be there, and they'd have their back against the wall, and they'd shuffle along the wall, sort of really gingerly, almost like in a sheepish fashion. And then as they sort of came in line with me, they'd look up, and then they'd start pleading. Like, so they wouldn't speak, but they'd have their hands out, and their eyes would be, you know, when someone looks terrified, their eyes.
Yeah.
They'd have this look, and then they'd just have their hands held out to me, and I just didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know what they wanted.
So you were actually seeing them in human form then? Not in
Once
like
again,
a wispy cloud or anything like that? They were more human form?
Yeah, so like the soldier, Irene, so they're very clear, but they're see-through.
Yeah.
So it'd be like seeing you, and you appear like I can make out all your details, but then all of a sudden there's a realisation. You think, hang on, you're transparent, and then I can see the wall behind you or whatever's behind you. With these, though, they were actually against the wall.
Yeah. Did they look
shuffling?
Did they look modern day, or did some of them look from another time, or?
It's hard to tell, because a lot of the time I was just focusing on their faces mainly, because I was waiting for that stare that they all used to give me. It was like they were begging for help. But I only saw each of them once. It's almost like asking you to remember like the 40 people that you've seen in the street today, because there were so many of them, and they were all quite nondescript, Irene, to be honest. There was nothing really amazing about them, apart from the fact that they were there and they shouldn't have been. And the old man was the only one that came to me a couple of times. So I can remember him, and he just looked like someone. He didn't look like he was from a distant past. He looked like someone from, like, he was sort of nondescript too. There was nothing that would give me any idea of where he came from in history. Yeah. But there were so many of them.
And did they come at a certain time? Was it only nighttime, or did you see them during the day as well?
It was mainly at night.
Mainly at night.
Yeah, it was mainly at night, because to be honest, most of the day I'd be out, so they could have been there. But then when I'd get in, say from 6 onwards, you know, and there was no rhyme or reason. There was no routine, nothing. I always tried to work out, what am I doing? Why are they coming? But it didn't matter what I did. If I left all the lights on, if I turned them off, I tried to experiment, Irene. I tried to read up before the internet as well. This was, you know, what do you do to attract spirits? Why am I attracting spirits? And I used to do loads of different experiments, like leave the lights off, turn the lights on, make the room warm, make it cold. They just kept coming.
Yeah, I understand. Sorry, people, Gertrude is in the room.
Is she?
Hello,
and snoring.
And snoring.
We've bored her already.
See, we always put her to sleep, especially when I'm on the radio.
Oh, so whenever he's on Skype, it puts her to sleep.
My voice lulls her to sleep. You're getting sleepy.
He says hello and she goes to sleep. Yeah, straight away. But I am sorry about this, people, but Gertrude is in the room, and Gertrude is the Paranormal UK Radio Network mascot.
Yep.
So wherever Paranormal UK Radio is, so is Gertrude. Sorry about that, Mary. I am sorry.
No, it's fine.
But, you know, I can hear her through headphones. I keep giving her a dig. Yeah, well, I keep giving her a dig to try and wake her up. But you try waking up a bulldog when it's asleep.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise that.
Right, it's not easy, I tell you. It's not easy whatsoever. So, what floor did you actually live on this tower block?
So it was 2, so second floor.
Mm.
And the weird thing was, we used to get sort of a lot of water. So in our hallway, I used to have to call the plumber out a few times and say, where's this water coming from? They couldn't work it out. It seemed to be coming up through the floor, to the point where there was almost like a plant type life growing through the water. It was really weird. That flat was weird.
Did you ever try to look into the history of that land before those tower blocks were actually built?
No. To be honest, I tried to just pretend it wasn't happening. I mean, 'cause it was really sort of having an impact on my mental well-being, really. I just didn't want to believe it was happening. And I can remember just not breaking down, but being really upset, talking to a friend about it and saying, I don't know how much more I can endure this for. And she said that there was a healer guy she knew who could maybe help me, advise me on how to sort of shut them out. And I can remember him ringing me, and he told me to get a crystal and put it in my hand while he spoke to me, and that he was going to send healing vibes through the phone to me. To this crystal started getting warm in my hand. Yeah. And he said, did you do anything recently that might have called on these people? And the only thing I could think of, Irene, was that I'd healed my hands. So my hands had contact dermatitis on them. They got really bad. Yeah. And after using normal medicine and all kinds of treatment at the hospital, steroids, nothing was working. So I said to my GP, I'm going to try alternative therapy. And I read this book on Betty Shine, who had a mind medicine room type technique to use, where you imagine there's a room and you go into it, and whatever you need is in there. So I imagined there was magic hand cream. I know it sounds silly now, but I did it for a week and my hands were healed, and I was shocked. Yes. And I went back to my GP, and he just sat holding my hands, and he said, I don't know what to say. He said, I don't know if it was a delay in what we did and now it's working, or that really did work. He said, but I can't ignore it, and I will have to somehow incorporate alternative therapy into my practice now. He was amazed by it. But the man on the phone was saying, this healer, that he thinks because I was an amateur and I didn't know what I was doing, that I'd sort of opened a gate and called in some bad spirits, and that the only way to stop being haunted was to give them an offering. And I said, what kind of offering? And he said, anything, a Mars bar, anything, but you have to tell them you're grateful for what they did. And he said, you've got to draw a circle and put the offering in it. But I didn't want to do this, Irene, because if I'd have drawn a circle and put an offering in it, and then woke up the next day and it was gone, whatever I'd put in there, that would have made it real. Yeah. So,
but the point is, you were also seeing these things before all this happened, didn't you?
Exactly, yeah. So part of me, I used to feel cross and think, have I done something there? But then I thought, no, because I didn't do anything when I was 12 and saw these things, I mean, I might have exasperated it a bit. It might have made it worse by, doing that healing. But I think they still would have come in some form, even if I hadn't done hand healing. Yeah. But, yeah, so he suggested I do that, but I didn't do it. I just thought, if I do that and then I wake up the next day and whatever I put in that circle is gone, then it's real then.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to mentally send these things over when they come?
Yeah, I've never known what to. Yeah, I've never known what to do with them, Irene. Like, I can remember saying to the old man, "What do you want?" I was so frustrated. I thought, I don't know why you're coming to visit me, and he just sort of he didn't tell me anything. He just sort of disappeared. But very few of them I've actually communicated with to a point that I could sort of tell them to go into the light, or because I didn't want to have to deal with them. Yeah. But there's been a few harrowing experiences, like as the one that in the book that I put, The Boy Who Hung Himself, where he really tried to tell me what had happened to him. And he was saying, tell them I'm happy now. And I remember just being in the spiritual church thinking, tell who? And I remember plucking up the courage to say to the two psychics that were hosting that night about what had happened. And I wasn't really happy with their responses. And it sort of put me off once again, thinking, what do I do with this? Because the point of writing the book, Irene, was to try and work out as well, if I can help people, I'd like to help people. But I just don't know how to, what is the next step when if a spirit does show themselves to me, what am I meant to do about it? I never know what to say or do.
Well, it seems to me that these ones that have been coming to you up to now, what we've been talking about, are obviously coming to you because they want help. They want some sort of rescuing. Or they want to pass a message on, like that you say about the boy. You know, if you turned around and said to that boy, or mentally said to it, okay, I will tell them, that more than likely all it would have needed to, you know, leave you alone.
Yeah.
And go on to wherever it's meant to go to, or he's meant to go to, you know?
Yeah.
I've done spirit rescuing for since God was a boy. And I worked so many different methods. So, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy, but there's something inside you that tells you how these things, how to deal with these things when it actually happens. Well, inside me anyway, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to... Sorry. I'm trying to smack her on the head, but I'm too far away from her.
What you need is like a like things on your desk that you can just throw at her during the interview. Like, shut up!
Yeah, it's like when anything dark comes with my way, you know, I just turn around and put my hand up and say, bug off.
Yeah.
And it's some sort of energy that I give out that actually stops it.
Yeah.
So
it's weird because when I was in Margate the weekend, this entity that's in that room, normally I don't say anything or do anything, but my friend said she'd had a few psychics over and all to try and get rid of whatever it is in the room. And so I went and stood in the corner where he normally stands, and I just said, while talking to her, I wasn't really asking him, I was saying to my friend, do you think he knows he's dead? And we actually started talking about him. And then I said, oh, my maternal grandmother used to say if there was a spirit in the room to put salt into all the corners of the room. I don't know if you've heard of this, Irene, but she'd say get pinches of salt.
I have heard of it. It really is, you know, it's an old method. It's old wives thing and everything. And to me, it just makes a bloody mess.
Yeah.
You know, I find that you get on further by using your mind, using your energy, and that's it.
Yeah. Because I said, does he know he's dead? And we just started talking about him. And then I did sprinkle a tiny bit of salt into each corner. And then we just sort of said, you know, do you know you're dead? Like, do you know why you're here? And then the atmosphere did seem to lighten.
Yeah, maybe
so I don't know if that's helped.
You actually, maybe that's what it was. Maybe he needed to be told he was dead.
Yeah. So that was quite an eye-opener for me, because I thought, don't tell me I could have done that all that time ago, just said that, and then maybe it would have stopped, you know, because I was ignoring them, not because I'm rude to ghosts, but because I didn't know what to do with them. Yeah. So I'm thinking, you know, if I could have communicated with them better, you know, would I have had as many hauntings as I did? I don't know.
Well, it sounds like they were being persistent too. They're trying to get your attention, and you're not being experienced with them. You're not really sure how to handle or deal with them. So they keep hanging around. And if you're not like a trained psychic or someone who's used to dealing with them, you know, what are you really going to do? They just keep coming around and bothering you.
Yeah, and I always felt such a letdown to them, because it must take energy to be able to contact the living, and I used to feel such a letdown. I'd think, oh God, why have you chosen me? Like, I'm the worst person you could have chosen, because I don't, you know, I just don't know how I can help you. You know, whatever you need, I don't think I'm the person, you know, that can help you. But over the years, I've sort of slowly started to learn how to deal with them and be more brave with them. And, you know, they used to terrify me, but they don't terrify me as much as they did now. I'm sort of, if anything, I feel sorry for them.
What is one of the more recent experiences that you've had in terms of dealing with a persistent spirit?
They're not as persistent now as what they used to be. I mean, the last real, apart from this gentleman in Margate at the weekend, when I was in Italy with my friend. Last year we did a tour of Italy, and I had an experience. I'd been to Pompeii for the day, and it seems like I brought back more than just dust on my trainers from that experience. I ended up with an arm around me, just a floating arm. I actually put this in the book. When we came back from Pompeii, we were based in Sorrento, and I thought I'd have a sleep before the evening, and I was aware of an arm around me, and when I grabbed it, it was muscly, and then it was just a floating arm, and it was a male arm, and I was trying to shrug it off me, and then I was aware of like a load of shadows at my bed, probably about 6 shadows. So then I thought, have I brought that back from Pompeii with me? Did I not shut down? Because there's a lot of energy in Pompeii.
Oh, I can vouch for that, because that's my part of the world. Yeah, I go there every year to Amalfi.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I stay in Amalfi. Yeah, I stay in Amalfi every year. But I also wrote in my book about Pompeii. I was walking around Pompeii, and all I could hear was the voices all the time of people from the past. What was going on? You walk into where the marketplace was and things, you could hear the hustle and bustle of it. You know, you go up on the amphitheatre, you could hear the cheering. It's all in my book as well. So
there's a lot of energy.
A hell of a lot of energy. Like I said in my book, I'm only glad that I didn't hear that last day in Pompeii when that when Vesuvius actually erupted and killed all those people.
Oh, that would be terrible. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? If you could actually hear that. I mean, that would be indescribable, really. Yeah. So do you hear a lot then, Irene? Is yours a lot more audio?
No, I get everything.
Do you get everything? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear, I see, I taste, I smell.
One-stop shopping with Irene. It's one-stop shopping with Irene.
Yeah, I've seen them in Tesco's, everywhere. I see them all over the place, walking down the high street. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
So there is that energy in Pompeii. I remember thinking, wow, this is dangerous, and I could already feel it the minute I walked in, that it just takes you. And I thought, I need to find a way to shut down here. And I remember putting a circle around me of protection and all, and just trying to relax myself, because I could really feel like it was just all around me. It was almost suffocating. And then when we went back, I just knew it. I thought, there's something come back with me. Yeah. So I think that's what that floating arm was and what these shadows were.
Now, the floating arm, was that something you physically saw, or did it show up in a photograph? I mean, how did you know you had a floating arm?
No, it was around me, so that was physical, Mark. So I was lying on my side, and I felt an arm around me. And at first I thought it was my friend. I thought, oh, she's missing her boyfriend. You know, she's snuggled up to me. I felt an arm around me. Then when I went to grab it, to take it off me, I was like, that's not her arm, that's a masculine arm. And I started to feel the arm, and it was really, muscly. And then I realised, and I thought, this is a male arm. And my first thought was, oh, has someone got into the apartment? Did we lock the door? I thought, have we got an intruder? And then as I went to pull the arm off me, I thought, I need to do something. I can't just lie here and let that person, attack me. As I went to pull his arm off, I realised it was just an arm. It was a really weird feeling. And then that arm just disappeared. And then when I turned back, there was these shadows standing at the bed, I'd say about 5 or 6 dark figures. I remember just shutting my eyes and thinking, oh God, don't be there when I open them. And when I opened them, they were still there. So I just shut them again, and it's amazing how the power of a blanket comes into play. I just put the blanket over my head. I thought, I'm going to pretend they're not there.
Blankets have saved me from many a monster when I was a child.
Yeah, they still save me. If ever I'm scared, it's amazing what a blanket can do. It's like they're not there, I can't see them. And then it's only later on I looked at my trainers and they had dust on them, and I thought, wow, I brought back more than dust from Pompeii.
Yeah, it's very dusty there. Very dusty.
Well, let me ask a question then, because here's something that comes to mind. Well, first of all, I want to make a crack about, those damn Italian men. They're so smooth, sticking that arm around there, amorous. But, Here's the thing, and Irene, this is as much a question for you as it is for Mary, in terms of what Pompeii happened, 1600 years ago, however many years.
Oh,
was it 72 A.D. I think?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so we're looking at it was 2,000 years ago, and just shy of 2,000 years ago, and yet, do you really think that there are ghosts that from that time period still hanging around? Because it almost seems like in most
I think it's imprinted in the atmosphere, the energy, because it must have been absolutely terrifying for these people.
Yeah,
that it was raining down all on them, and it was what was it? It wasn't the lava that was killing them. It was the
ash. It was the ash.
Dust.
Yeah, the ash coming down, hot ash.
Yeah.
Is what killed them.
And then it also hit Herculaneum as well. No, yeah.
Yeah, Herculaneum.
Yeah, and they found so many crowded in a cave on the beach, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's horrific.
And if it erupts today, it will hit Naples.
Yep.
They have got an emergency procedure in place for Naples, but can you imagine trying to get all those people out? Naples is massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's absolutely massive. And trying to get all them people out would be absolute nightmare.
Right.
Yeah.
But
as you were saying, Mark, like I think, and as you said, Irene, I think it's like an imprint. When something so catastrophic like that happens, surely all of that anger and energy and fear and all, I don't see how that could leave the earth, and somehow it's left as an imprint.
Yeah, you're talking about that, Anne Frank Museum, which is the actual house that she hid in the attic in Amsterdam. You go in there, you climb them stairs up to where she was hidden, and you can feel it all the way through that house. Yeah. The sadness, everything, the fear, the sadness, it's all there. It's been made into a museum now, but it is an amazing place to visit.
But here's the difference.
That's why I say seeing ghosts, because people are familiar with the term ghosts. But really, I don't know what I'm seeing, really. I'm open to all kinds of interpretations, because part of it, I do think sometimes it's almost like a visual memory from the past. Yeah. Sometimes you see a ghost and you wonder if they had such a strong presence on Earth or didn't want to leave Earth. They've somehow left a visual imprint of themselves. We don't understand the world, really. So I say ghosts, but it could be anything. I'm open to any interpretation of what these things could be.
Right. Where I question a lot, and I try to get really deep into answers sometimes. So, some people look at me like, what? But in this case of, let's say, I can understand a location having a very deep emotional imprint from the people who died there. Look at Gettysburg in Pennsylvania in the U.S., biggest Civil War battle fought on U.S. soil, and all the people died there. And so many people feel that energy of that event. But in your case, not only did these things follow you home, something intentionally put an arm around you. And you were feeling that. And that doesn't coincide to me with an imprint. Because
that's true.
An imprint wouldn't leave the area and wouldn't have a form of intelligence. So
that's true. I mean, I say it's from Pompeii. I just made that link, but I don't know. But I for some reason, I felt like that was from Pompeii. But like
it could be something in Sorrento, then, couldn't it?
Or
in the
apartment. It could also have been.
It's just because I saw the dust on my trainers and all, and I thought, is it from Pompeii? I just felt like it was from Pompeii. But like you said, Mark, normally, if it's an imprint, how can an imprint move?
Well, it's also possible that, it's a more modern spirit that was in Pompeii. Anybody who lived and died in the area over the last, couple hundred years could still possibly be around, and maybe that's what followed you. It could have come from, if your gut is telling you it came from Pompeii, more than likely it did. But, I start getting into these deeper questions like, well, how long do spirits really hang about? Do you want to hang about for 2,000 years wondering, why can't anybody see me? You think you'd figure it out by then. And even when you talk to people about reincarnation, if you believe in that kind of thing, which I do, and So you think of like, what, you're going to hang around in a ghost form for 2,000 years, and then maybe if you're lucky, you realize you go cross over and then you get born again. I mean, it's not often, as a paranormal researcher, we're coming across 2,000-year-old ghosts. Most of them seem to be within the last 150 years at the most. So, you know, if like here in America, if we think we'd be dealing with 10,000-year-old Indian ghosts, you know, that have been living, or even in Europe, going back to where are the cavemen ghosts? I asked that question. Yeah. Because it's my personal opinion that these entities do recycle, go back over eventually. They don't hang around forever. But, you know, when you have something as old as Pompeii and as traumatic and that energy... Yeah, but
on the way into Pompeii, where the gates are to Pompeii, you've got Pompeii Nuovo, which is New Pompeii. Yeah. Yeah, so you park up, you go into and then you walk through the gates into the old Pompeii. Yeah. So, well, the Pompeii Nuovo, you know, that goes back, to the medieval times, some of it.
Right.
But it's New Pompeii.
Okay. Yeah. All right, that makes sense.
You could have picked something up from there.
True.
I don't know where it came from, but it's to me...
And Sorrento's old as well.
Exactly, yeah. But I just felt it's come from Pompeii, because I had a couple of weird experiences in Italy. I had that, and then we had one when we were in Turin, because we went to about 8 different places, and I put this in the book, and this really scared me. We went there's a museum for Egypt there. Have you ever been to Turin?
Sorry, I'm eating a cheese straw.
I can say, as someone who isn't stuffing their mouth at the moment, no, I have never been.
So we went to this museum dedicated to Egypt. Apparently, it's the biggest museum for Egypt outside of Egypt. And I've always been interested in Egypt and its history. So we went into this museum, and they're transported part of a tomb to this museum from Egypt. I went, I've got to go in here and check this out. So I went in, and there was a drawing that looked like a rocket on this wall. So I went over and I ran my finger along it, and all of a sudden I felt my hand burning, and then all of a sudden my body was burning. And I remember really panicking and thinking, I feel like I'm on fire, I need to get out of here. So I remember just coming out of the tomb and just standing there, and I thought, I don't want to alarm my friend. We're in a different country. I don't want to start screaming and alarming people. So I just sort of calmed myself down, got through the visit. And then when we got back to the hotel room, my friend was getting ready for the evening, and she held up 2 tops, and she said, which one? And there was a huge growl into her ear, and she dropped the clothes, and she went, did you hear that? And I said, of course I did. You know, it was a huge growl. And then the next minute, I didn't tell her what happened next. She couldn't see it, but I could. There was the weirdest, it was like this creature about 3 foot tall and just loads of hair. It was a female, I think. Loads of hair coming down all over the face. You couldn't quite make out the face. I knew it was old. It was like an old type figure. I think it was an old woman in rags, just running around the room like a nutcase.
Yeah?
What was that?
Now, did you, let me clarify, I wasn't quite sure I understood. Did you see this, or was it in your mind's eye? How did you interpret this?
No, I could see it. She couldn't.
But
I didn't tell her it was there.
A 3 foot tall, hairy, humanoid type of being.
Yeah. So it was about, I'd say 3 foot in height, and just loads of hair all over the face, all down the back, loads of hair. I thought it was an old lady. That's what I felt. That's the feeling I got from it. And sort of in rag type material, and was just running around on the chair, on the floor, making all these noises. So my friend had heard the growl, and I'm not sure if that's the moment when this thing manifested, but I didn't tell her after that, because then she was terrified just because of the growl. I thought, wow, if I tell you what I can see now, you won't sleep for the rest of, thank God we're only in Turin for 2 days. This thing was just running around. And I remember just getting ready, and we closed the door, and I thought, let's hope that still isn't in our room when we get back from the night out. And when we got back, the thing was still in the room. I don't know what it was.
That's strange.
That is very interesting, and that kind of coincides with other reports that I've heard over the years of.
Really?
It fits in, yes, in different parts of the world. In America, they're called the little people amongst Native American tribes who mention.
Really?
Yes. We have our Bigfoot, Sasquatch, which is the big hairy people. But what you hear about less of the time, but they are seen, are the little people. They're described like small, hairy, human-like beings. In North Carolina, the Cherokee have legends of these little people. But it also kind of fits in with Celtic lore too, with the fairy lore. The small people, the little people, even though it's not dressed up in clothes with the hat and the shamrocks, but it still coincides with different legends across the world, different cultures who talk about these types of beings.
Well, Barry, didn't it? Barry Fitzgerald, when he was on our show, was talking about his book. There's a story of one in there in the woods. Do you remember?
Yep. Yes. There was a story of the little girl who was lost and hiding from her mean sisters and came across a small, hairy female person that was able to, never said a word to her, but was able to mask them both, make them invisible, so where her sisters who were looking to beat her up couldn't find her. And very interesting story. I know of another. There is this author, Mary Summer Rain, who's written a bunch of spiritual type books, and she talked about when she was 17 with her future husband. They were sitting on a park bench, and back in the 1960s, they were talking, and she happened to look over his shoulder, and standing right behind them was a short woman covered in hair, just standing there staring at her. And she about freaked out. But yeah, I've heard of these types of beings in several different locations.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen this thing again. The really weird thing was, you should be scared of it because it was manic almost. So it was running around and almost like howling, but not howling. Like it was such a weird creature, whatever it was. And when we come back, I was like, oh God, it's still here. So I pretended to my friend, I thought, I can't tell you what I can see because she wouldn't have slept. So I just thought, I've got to play it cool. I got into bed. Once again, the blanket maneuver. So I just put the blanket over my head. And I was thinking, please don't crawl on the bed. Don't crawl on the bed on top of me or blow in my ear or do something like that. So the thing was still in the room, running around like an absolute, almost like a toddler would, like just being really quite disruptive. And then once I'd put the blanket over my head and thought, right, I'm going to sleep now, I'm amazed I slept because it was such a weird thing to have in there. But I did. I eventually fell asleep. But I was really worried that it would jump on the bed and run on top of me. It was such a weird experience.
You're watching it this whole time, and what's running it through your head as you're watching this creature, which you can see, but your friend cannot? I mean, were you afraid of it? Did it act like it was communicating in any way, or was it just running around like a child who's had, too much candy?
Yeah, exactly. This is where, Mark, I think sometimes I think parallel universes come into it, because I don't think that thing was really aware of us at all. It was almost like we were in the same space, but in different zones, if that makes sense. So I'm lying there thinking, oh God, don't run on top of the bed or anything like that. But that thing could have easily done that, but not because they necessarily wished to, cause me any fear or anything. It was almost like we were in the same space, but I was aware. I don't know if it was aware of me. I mean, I could see it, but I don't know if it could see me. It was just running around the room. Interesting.
Very interesting. Now, Mary, you had also mentioned in your book, you've seen this little person, this type of possibly multidimensional type of creature, but you also mentioned something about a demon in the attic. I was wondering if you could talk about that one a bit.
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. So I'd moved to. I've moved around quite a few times actually. So I'd moved to another new. This was a flat, and it was 3 floors. So it was almost like a house with. It had 3 floors, and it was a flat. And I was on the top, and so I'd moved in. I'd been there for about a week, and I can remember I had a sofa bed at the time, and I was lying on the sofa bed in my bedroom, and from where I was lying, I could see the attic door in the ceiling. So anyway, this door starts moving to the side, and I was like, oh God, I can't believe it. You know, I'm being burgled. So I'm getting ready thinking, you know, what am I going to do if, you know, this intruder jumps down? Anyway, this head comes down, and it was not what I was expecting at all. It was literally like out of a horror film. So it was like a red and browny, bloody type colour with like this really weird cone thing coming out of its head. I remember just lying there, just staring at it, thinking, am I asleep? Is this for real? Anyways, I'm thinking that. The head's gone back up. So I'm assessing it, and I'm just lying there thinking, okay, what's this? What's going on? And then it jumped down. Whatever this thing was, it jumped down. And I can remember it was standing there, it was poised, and it had really long arms and really long nails, like the nails were almost touching the floor. And it started moving its head from left to right as it was looking, you know, trying to like scope the area, see what was there. So I'm just staring at this thing thinking, help me, you know, is this really happening? And then all of a sudden it was like it must have felt me looking at it. This is what I thought, you know, I thought it must have felt me looking at it. And it turned, and our eyes locked, and it gave me the most sinister grin. It had huge teeth, and it gave me a sinister grin, and it came running at me with a real quick speed. And I remember just sitting up on this sofa bed, and for some reason I shouted out, Jesus Christ. And he went through me, just went through me. And I looked behind me, and he wasn't behind me. So I thought, has he gone out into the street, like the wall? Has he gone through the wall into the street? I remember I was just sitting there in shock. So, and once again, it's one of those things where I thought, is this a parallel universe experience? Did he see me and smile, or was he seeing something else, like, you know, in another universe, and I just happened to overlap with his? Or it was terrifying, Mark.
Now, did you only see it that one time? I mean, and what makes you think you were dealing with a demon?
Yes, only one time. I'll say a demon because it was really sort of, you could feel the evil of it. It's really hard to explain. It just felt like it wanted something. And, you know, I mean, I'm not a demon expert, but just there was just something about him that made me think this could be a demon. But I don't know. It could have been a creature from, you know, another parallel universe. I don't know. But to me, I knew it wasn't a ghost. I wasn't sure what it was, and I remember thinking to myself, it was evil. It was pure evil, and I felt like it wanted something. So it made me think, is this a demon?
When you saw this, was this solid, or was this?
This was solid.
It was solid.
Yeah, I didn't even. To be honest, I was in so much shock, Irene. I couldn't say it. I don't think it was transparent. This looks solid. It looked like it was made up of blood and mud.
Blood and mud.
Yeah. It was like a brown and red type substance. And yeah, it looked like it was made up of blood and mud, and it had this weird growth thing coming out of the side of its head. And it just ran at me. And honestly,
did it make any noise?
Real now. Huh?
Did it make any noise?
No, not.
Was there any sound to it running or anything?
No, not that I can recall. Although the fear might have blotted some of it out, to be honest. The main thing I can remember is the teeth. It was so sinister. There was something, the grin, there was something really evil about it. But because it had ran through me, and then there was no proof afterwards. So I was like, well, where is it? It just went through me and behind me. And I remember getting up after the shock had set in and looking out the window and thinking, is it out there? You know, it just seemed to go through me and out the back wall, like that led out onto the street. But at first I thought, I'm going to pretend that didn't happen. Because when you see something like that, you think the only way to keep your sanity surely is to pretend, okay, I imagined that. And then unfortunately, sometime after, when I sort of got used to, pretending that didn't happen, I was at a family gathering and a sister-in-law came up to me and said, "Oh, can I talk to you? Because, you've seen a few things and I saw something the other night that's really upset me."
Yeah.
So I said, "Yeah, you can talk to me." And she just said, "Oh, the other night I woke up and when I looked down at the end of the bed, there was this creature on the end of the bed and it seemed to be tormenting like my brother." She said it was pinching at his skin, and she said it must have felt me looking at him, and then he turned around, he gave me a really sinister grin and he disappeared. And I said, "Well, what did it look like?" And she literally described what I'd seen. Then I was like, oh no, you think, this has set me back now. How can two people imagine a similar thing?
Well, going back to your experience, when it had gone through the wall, did you look up at the attic hatch and see that it was still open, or was it shut?
Yeah, I can't remember that bit, Irene, because then I always say to myself, like, if it was shut, does it mean I imagined it, or did he shut it as he was coming down? But I don't actually remember if the door was shut or open afterwards.
Yeah.
So, like when something's so traumatic, I don't remember what happened after that. Like, it's all I can remember is this thing being there, then running through me, and me getting up and looking out the window and thinking, where did he go? Like, he's not in this room. He must have gone through the wall. But then I don't remember the aftermath. I don't remember the practicalities. I don't remember if I had to shut that attic door back or if it was shut. I don't remember.
Did you ever ask the landlord if any paranormal activity or anything strange happened there?
No, because it wasn't like it wasn't someone I could really speak to. It was a housing association.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yes, it wasn't like it wasn't like a man or a woman I could talk to.
What about this sister? Had she ever been in that apartment?
No. But then it got me thinking, like, is there, I read somewhere once, after she told me that, I thought, wow, I'm going to do a bit of research here. And sometimes, have you heard about this, Irene and Mark, where there's like creatures that torment families?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're called in-laws.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Not mine. I love my in-laws, but in general.
Yes, I remember reading somewhere that there can be like creature type things that sort of latch themselves onto families. So I thought, is that what this thing was?
So
or
was this your sister that came up to you at this party, or what?
No, so this was my sister-in-law. So this was my brother's partner. And she said that it was pinching my brother. So apparently my brother was just asleep. He didn't feel it. But she said, I just watched him. She said, I just stared at this thing pinching at his legs. And then it must have felt me looking at him. It was kind of the feeling I got. And then he sort of turned to look at her and did this sinister grin. And then he sort of disappeared. And then I was a bit, oh no. She went, do you think I imagined it?
How long after your experience did she have hers?
I'd say about a year. It had been some time. A time had elapsed, and I'd got used to, just settling into the idea that maybe I imagined it. And then she said this, and then she said, what do you think? Do you think I imagined that? And I told her she probably had imagined it. I didn't tell her about my experience. If she's listening now, she might, if she does listen to this, or I didn't put this in the book, the bit that she said, in case she read the book. But yeah, so it got me thinking, oh no, did I see that then? Because for the longest time I thought maybe I can pretend that didn't happen. But you can tell the difference between when you're imagining something and when you're not. And it was very, very real, this experience. So I can still see the thing now, and I'm glad I haven't seen it again physically. I only see it in my nightmares now.
How long ago was this?
So this would have been about 1998, 99. So, and the weird thing is, Irene, I
can understand why you're calling it a demon, because that is about the only descriptive word you can give it, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So all I know is it wasn't a ghost, and it wasn't any other entities or anything like that I can think of. So the nearest thing, you know, if you look at how people try and catalogue demons and all, that was the nearest thing that I could tie to it. But it's really weird because that flat, even people who didn't believe in the paranormal, if they came to see me, they were terrified to stay in that flat. And also there was always the effect of stones being thrown at the window in that flat. And people would go to the window and go, like, someone's throwing stones, and there'd be no one there. And the windows also, they were full of dead flies.
Well, dead flies in general don't necessarily mean paranormal, but...
they do in my house.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, but
blame
when
the
I
ring
say
for
dead
that.
flies, I mean, like, just, it was ridiculous amounts, you know, just ridiculous amounts of dead flies. As if something had died there. But... yeah, I don't know. Like, one of my friends, she was so scared if I left the flat, she'd lock herself in the bathroom. And she didn't believe in anything.
Did you ever try to get up into the attic?
God, no. Maybe I should have.
Yeah.
But
interesting to see what it felt like up there, you know?
Yeah, but I just wanted to pretend that hadn't happened. Then when she said that, I was like, oh no, you know, did this really happen then? You know, because I've conned myself into thinking maybe it didn't. Yeah. But then I thought, well, we can't both be hallucinating about the same thing. And, you know, it just really upset me then. It set me back a bit because I was like, that did happen. But that flat had lots of weird activity in it. There's something about that flat. And that wasn't old. That wasn't an old building. But then that was built on marshland again. So that was built all around the Woolwich Arsenal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it was only about 20 years old, I think, the building. But it was built all around that Woolwich Arsenal and all. And there's a lot of energy there too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, how long did you stay there for?
Only stayed there for a couple of years. And then
you moved on.
Yeah. It was hard. It was hard staying there. Especially like when other people were staying with me and then going, oh, you know, I don't like it. There's a vibe here. But yeah, I only stayed there for a few years. And then I remember I moved in with my mum then. We got a house together for a while. So yeah, I didn't want to stay there any longer.
Did your mother or any other members of the family see stuff like this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, some of their stories are, and that's what I'm thinking of doing. Like, this was a real purging for me to put down on paper some of my experiences. And some of my family members have had experiences too. So I was going to sort of sit with them and say, you know, do you want to tell me what you've seen so I can get them down too, you know, and write down what you've experienced? Because some of them have had, you know, pretty unreal experiences, really. And like even my mum, who tries not to believe in anything, she's had quite a few experiences. I think my mum's more receptive to this kind of world than what she thinks she is. One of my friends, so one of my really dear friends, her best friend died, and when he died she went to see him and she said, do you remember Miss Brazil? And she was talking about me. She said, do you remember Miss Brazil? Sometimes she sees things. Why don't you go and see her, you know, and tell her that you're okay? So I was in the same house as my mum. And the next day, when I got up, my mum was terrified. She said that a man had appeared to her door that night. He'd gone into the wrong bedroom, Irene. My friend's
never happens to me.
He stood at my mum's door and he said, Mrs. Brazil. Yeah. And she thought we were going to be burgled. And he was pretending to play with her door. And she said the side of his head had some sort of weird yellow paint coming down the side of his head. So she said, once again, the blanket manoeuvre. She said she covered her head and, you know, just prayed that he wouldn't rob her. And when she pulled the blanket back down, he wasn't there. So my friend's, the best friend who died, he used to fix doors for a living, and he had to have an autopsy and all, and he had like yellow coming down the side of his head. And also, when I told my mum that, afterwards, I said to Vicky, like, my mum had a really weird experience. And when I told her what had happened, she said, oh, my God, that's him. Like, he'd gone to the wrong Miss Brazil. So I'm asleep in the next room, oblivious, and he's terrifying my mother.
So what do you mean? At the autopsy, he had this yellow liquid going down his head?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, he must have had some sort of, whatever it is, he had some sort of yellow coming down his head. And I think he had yellow flowers around him as well.
Oh, because
there was all
the only yellow the yellow liquid that just hit me was iodine. Yeah,
probably, yeah. And then I think he had yellow flowers as well or something. But he was pretending to fix my mum's door. And it was really weird because my mum said that as he was doing it, she hadn't cottoned on that this was a ghost. She thought this was a real man who was going to rob us. And she said he was pretending almost like to fix the door as a reason to talk to her. So, so he'd gone to the wrong Miss Brazil. So it wasn't until we added 2 and 2 together. She told me what had happened. Then I told my friend. And then my friend said, oh, I told him to go and see you and say, do you remember Miss Brazil? And then it's sort of we worked out that, he'd gone to the wrong person.
Oh.
So, but a lot of my family have had experiences. So, lots of them.
That's strange, that one.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Unless that was some sort of balming fluid or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. I just remember something about there being some yellow down the side of his head.
Yeah.
But I think my mum's more receptive than what she'd like to be. I think my mum's deeply religious, and I don't think she likes that side of life.
Yeah. There are a lot of people.
My mother used to be a bit like that.
Yeah.
It scares her.
There are a lot of people who are definitely that way.
Yeah.
Well, my mother had a favourite saying. Well, every time, even as a child, if I saw anything, it would be, Irene, I was born in a haunted house. If anybody's going to see a ghost, it's me. And I've never seen a ghost. So it's your imagination. And that went on for, right up until I was fully grown,
Yeah.
Should be still saying that about 5 years ago.
Yeah. It's amazing, though, because some people say they don't believe in it. And then they tell you about a story where they've seen a ghost and you think, you just said you saw one. I think people feel uncomfortable still admitting that they've seen what's known as ghosts. I think there's still that sort of uncomfortable factor.
Yeah, there's that stigma, isn't there? They're worried that somebody's going to take the pie out of him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? There's definitely some sort of stigma.
Yeah. But she had an experience. She literally had an experience. Now she's, even after this experience, she was still telling me, if anybody's going to see a ghost, it's me. I was born in a haunted house, right? But she told me once about the time she was down in the hallway downstairs the house, and she could smell my father, right?
Yeah.
And she was trying to reach the light switch to switch on the light, and she felt him pick her up so she could switch on the light.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And she said that really, really happened. And then the next breath is if it's the same thing, Irene, if anyone's going to see a ghost, it's me. I was born in a haunted house.
Yeah. It's really weird, like the people not wanting to confess, but I can see why as well, because I kept it in for a long time as well about what I was seeing. But now I just, I've got to the point where I don't care now. I've seen so much that, I think it's good therapy to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's weird because you're saying about father. I've never seen my dad since he passed over. Of all the people that I'd love to see, it would be him, and he's been gone.
Too.
Yeah, it's been gone 26 years, and I don't, I've never seen him. Sometimes I've felt him, I think, but I've never seen him. Yeah, apparently he haunted the house that he died in.
Yeah. Yeah, strange, isn't it? I've only seen mine once since he passed over, just once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've never seen anyone I know who's passed over. So it's always spontaneous.
Well,
And it's always.
I say I've seen him once. I've seen him once in real life, in a waking state. I've seen him in dreams, and I saw him once when I was under an anaesthetic. So
Yeah.
no,
I've never.
You two have got a one up on me. I've never seen anything.
No, they don't bother with you, do they, Mark?
No, they don't like me. They say, "Oh, it's that Johnson kid. He can piss off."
So have you heard anything, Mark, or felt anything, or?
Well, that's a different story. Hearing, yes. Feeling, definitely. I've even gotten impressions sometimes, but to physically see something like right there in front of my face with my own eyes, never. I've heard voices, disembodied footsteps right next to me. Even had a cat meow next to me once when there was no cat there. And plus, in the investigations I've done over the years, I've gotten a lot of great evidence on audio and video, but just missing that one piece of actually seeing, an apparition or seeing even a shadow figure or anything like that.
Yeah. It's weird. My niece sent me a lovely message today just saying, I read your book and I loved it. And then she said, and I just want to say how sorry I am that you've had a life of seeing ghosts. She said, but how a bit jealous I am that, and I'm sure others are, that they haven't had that chance to see something out of the ordinary. I thought, that sort of sums it up. That sort of, that one part of you really wanting to see something, and the other part of you thinking, I don't want to see something. I really wrestle with that. Well,
see, my problem is I'm an investigator. So, yes, I'm actually out there looking to see something. and they haven't been cooperative yet.
No, but it doesn't normally work like that, Mark. It's when you're not expecting to see something that you end up seeing something.
That's what I have, Irene. This is what I'm saying. I say it in the book as well. Whenever I've tried to will it, which isn't often, but if I have tried to will it, nothing happens. It's always spontaneous and when I'm least expecting it. So, in fact, the only thing I've tried to will is them healing light being things that I talk about in the book, because I don't think they were ghosts. I think they were from another dimension. These weird light beings that I saw once.
Tell me about the light beings.
So, what I was doing like a healing session. Now and again, like because I healed my hands, I've read a lot about healing and how to heal people, and I love the idea of helping people. But it's another thing where I haven't quite mastered it. And I thought one day my friend was in a lot of pain. So I said, well, let me try some healing on you. And while I was healing her, these things appeared and they didn't have a shape. So they were full of light, like this beautiful, it was white light, but even now I can't describe it. It was just amazing, this light. I've never seen anything like it. And they were sort of circle, then they were square. They were trying to find a shape. They were trying to form. And I could feel, while I was trying to heal her, that they were trying to help me heal. So in my head, I thought, what are these? Are these like healing light beings or something? And I felt like they'd come from another dimension. I didn't think they'd died here.
Okay.
It was really weird. So
well, I'm going. Sorry, Mary. I'm going to have an evil plug here. I am. Read Among the Spirits by me.
Right.
Among the Spirits by Irene Allen Block.
Yeah, I talk about.
Do you mention this, Irene?
Yeah, I talk about them.
Right, I'm going to read
As a child. Well, wait, because I'm updating the book, so just wait, and I'll let you know when it's back out again.
Okay, because it was really weird. I haven't seen them since, and my friend started freaking out, and I said, "Don't freak out, because they can feel your fear." I said, "They'll leave. Just stay calm. They don't want to hurt you. I think they're trying to help me." I said, "So just stay calm," but she couldn't stay calm, and they disappeared. And so every once in a while, I mean, I don't know what I'm asking to call on. I don't know what they were, but I'm convinced they're from another dimension. And now and again, they're the only things I think, oh, come on, come back, where are you? And they never come. Like you were saying, Mark, if you wait around or if you try and call on them, they won't come. Maybe they'll come again in 10 years when I'm least expecting it. But it was the most beautiful feeling. And they were definitely from another dimension. But they were trying to find a shape. It was almost like they didn't have a shape. And they were trying to find a shape for me. It was really weird.
Well, a shape for you that they could appear in so that you could kind of understand them?
Yeah, maybe. They were definitely intelligent. They were intelligent beings, and they were definitely, I mean, they were from another dimension. I just knew that internally. I knew. And I knew they were trying to help me. But I could also sense that my friend was really panicking. And I said, stop panicking. I said, because they're going to go. You know, I could feel them getting really sort of picking up on her fear. And she just couldn't contain the fear. And then they just disappeared. And I was like, oh, no. So every now and again, I sort of just sit there and go, come on, like whatever you were, come back. But I haven't seen them since that day.
How many were there?
Oh, I'd say about, Irene, quite a few. I'd say about 5. You know, there's quite a few. They were littered about the room as well. They weren't all together. So there was a cluster. Say there was 3 in one part, 1 nearer to me, and then 1 slightly away. And I say, you know, it's hard to. I say there's 5, 6. There was a cluster. There was a group, but it was like broken. So there was a group sort of near to me, and then there was 1 next to me. I'd say it was about 5, 6, something like that. It's a cluster.
Yeah, the first time I saw them in that form or like that was when I was a kid, and I was sitting up in bed trying to learn my times tables for a test at school next day.
Right.
And that's when I first saw them.
Wow.
And then I saw them quite a few times after that.
So was there quite a few as well, Irene, with you?
The first time there was about 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also saw something when I was a lot younger as well, over top of my bed, and I believe that was them as well. Now that I'm older, I believe it was them, but at that particular time I didn't. You know, I didn't know what they were.
So they quite fascinate me because I know that they hadn't died and crossed over. I thought, no, this is something else. This is definitely from another dimension. They're intelligent, and they were actually just trying to help. And they were definitely trying to find a form. So they were sort of, it was like they...
That's what was happening when they started to form, make forms when I was learning my tables.
Yeah.
You know? And then you wait until they touch you.
Oh,
That's
God.
out of this world.
Really? Like proper contact?
It's just something that goes right the way through you. Absolutely fantastic, the energy.
Wow. Because I could feel the energy, like, I just can't imagine them even like actually having physical contact. But I just had a beautiful feeling, though. I didn't feel frightened, and I thought, oh, this is amazing. But my friend was petrified, and I was going, you know, calm down. They don't like the fear. You know, try and calm down. The fear's sort of making them want to leave. That's the impression I got. And I was going to her, just calm down. It's all good. They're not going to hurt you. And she just couldn't control the fear, and they just disappeared. But, yeah, I mean, I'd love to see them again. There was no fear at all there. But, wow, the thought of them actually having physical contact, I mean, that must be amazing.
Yeah, I was, I suppose I was about, oh, crumbs. I must have been about 8 years old.
See, so you were like me, quite young, because when I look back, I mean, obviously I saw them when I was a lot older, but the whole idea of being able to have a foot in this other world, whatever it is, the things that we see, we did start quite young, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Because 8's, you know, it's a really young age. And, I mean, how long have these things been about, whatever they are? I always say that
I can remember seeing them back as early as the age of 4.
Yeah, see, that's amazing.
I was seeing stuff, but at that time I didn't know it was anything. You know, to me it was just normal.
Well, are you talking about?
Everyone else was seeing what I was seeing.
Are you talking about spirits in general, or these other types of entities?
The night the little boy that I saw in the village, that night I saw these things for the first time. When I was in bed. Mum had just been in to kiss me goodnight, and then I saw them. And then I saw them again when I was about 8 years old. And that was the second time I saw them. And then I saw them practically every now and then after that.
How did they look when you first saw them?
They were kind of like a very, very bright ball light. And it was circular. And I put my hand out. I remember, I explained this in the book. I remember putting my hand out as this one came close and I touched it. And it started to change.
What did it change into?
Yeah, that's the impression I got. That they could change their form.
It started to grow. But
yeah,
it didn't grow into any particular form.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It didn't grow into a person standing there or anything like that. It just kind of grew.
Yeah.
It grew, and it was just all kind of shapeless.
Yeah, shapeless yet shapes. This is what I'm trying to explain to people. It's really weird because, like you said, that it was shapeless, but it was trying to definitely take on some kind of shape for me, but couldn't. It was in a constant state of, I don't know, like flux. It was trying to find some sort of... It was really weird. It was trying to find some sort of shape for me, but it was the most beautiful light. I can't describe it. It was the most beautiful white light.
Yeah. Do you think you're meant to be a healer?
I do. I've been told a few times. Like, I remember going for healing once, and this healer guy sat me up and went, "Why are you here?" He said, "You know, you've got more power than I can dream of." He said, "You know, you should be healing yourself." He said, "You know, you can do this." But once again, I don't know. I'm cross with myself, really, Irene, talking to you now about it. I should look into this kind of thing. I could help people, but I said to him, like, my dad died of lung cancer. And often think, if I have this gift of healing, why couldn't I have healed him? And he often says, oh, you know, he said, there's things that you can't heal. You know, some things go beyond that. He said, you can't stop that moment, like your dad dying, from helping others, you know. He said, you really need to work on this. So I think when I saw them healing, as I call them, healing light beings, I think that's another sign. It's like, why aren't you using this? Why aren't you doing something? So I think this is the year for me. Like, the first step was doing this book and actually coming to terms with the fact that there is this side to me that I can't get rid of, and it's time I embraced it. So I thought I'll put it to paper first, and then I'll start thinking, what can I do next? You know, can I help people with this?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think whatever's going to come, it's going to come in its own time anyway.
Yeah. Because I wanted this book to help people as well. I tried to make it simple to read and all. Because
it's like me with my one, easy reading.
Yeah, I thought there's no need to put bells on it and all. It's fascinating enough. It doesn't need big fancy words. I want it to be readable. And then I put a chapter in there about shutting down. So I wanted people to feel like there was some help if they were suffering from a similar thing. That, you know, there's ways that you can try and combat it, and it's best to confront it. So I spent so long sort of keeping it all in. It's like, you know, it's better to get it out and be honest and open and say, look, this is happening. Yeah.
So what happened this weekend then?
Oh yeah, so that was at my friend's house in Margate. There's an entity in this room.
Yeah.
She's the building she's in, I think that's got a lot of history, and he just stands in the corner. It's like this dark figure, and she'd had some psychics in, and one person said they thought it was a soldier and all this kind of stuff, but I don't know what it is. I just feel like it's a masculine form, and it's dark, and it stands in the corner, and it's not evil and it's not good. It's almost indifferent. So, but also a bit of suffering there. That's the impression I get from it. So I went into the room with her on the Friday, and she said, oh, you know, the room's really cold and it's got a bad feeling and vibe about it. And she's put loads of stuff in there to try and brighten it up, and flowers, and there's still this really sort of bad vibe. So I just walked over to where I've seen him stand before. So I couldn't see him that night, but I went and stood where he does stand and thought I could feel him. And I just said, you know, do you not know you're dead? And we started talking about this masculine figure in the corner.
Yeah.
And then I just put the salt down, and then the room seemed to all of a sudden just get more brighter.
Have you heard from
something
her since?
happened like after that.
Yeah. Has she contacted you today or anything?
Yeah, she said the room's a lot. She hasn't got that feeling in it at the moment.
Mm.
So it could be that the other times I saw him, I did the same old routine of just pretending it's not happening, and the old blanket manoeuvre, as I call it, pretend it's not there.
And
Yeah, and then
blanket
this
manoeuvres
time-
in this house are totally different to yours.
But then this time I thought, Irene, actually, especially with the book now out and more people talking to me about their experiences and all,
Yeah.
I thought, no, I'm going to go up to you and I'm going to, let's talk about this. And, I just said, do you know you're dead? And we just started talking about him in front of him. Because I couldn't see him, but I knew he was there. Sometimes I can see him and sometimes I can't, but I can always feel him, whatever this masculine form is. And we just started talking about him. And then, the room just felt air. The minute we started talking about him, and then sort of I just did the old housewives thing, the old housewives towel. And I don't know, just the room seemed to get quite airier as this went on. Just seemed to clear. And she said, it's been good since.
Okay. Yeah.
With these
I think that's just acknowledging him.
Yeah. That's maybe all he needed.
Yeah, maybe that's what he was hanging around for, just waiting to be acknowledged. And because we started saying, do you know you're dead? Or maybe that was enough for him to say, oh, okay, time to move on.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Mark, what were you saying?
Well, if that were me, I would be going, what? I'm what? Wait just a damn minute here. Good Lord. Yeah, I know, it's one of those weeks. I'm really interested about the other entities, these balls of light, these things that were changing shape, trying to provide a shape. Did they seem familiar to you at all?
No, they didn't seem familiar. So I can just remember thinking, wow, I wasn't scared, because normally, I'm quite scared. I'm a scaredy cat, especially if it's, I've got used to seeing ghosts, but it still sort of makes me scared, like that thing running around the room in Italy and all, But with these, there was an instant peace. I thought, this is not something that's died on this earth. And, this isn't a threat. This is something from another dimension. It's here to help. It definitely was here to help. And while I wasn't familiar with them, I'd never seen anything like it before or since. They definitely made me feel at one with them, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I didn't feel any fear. I bonded with them really quickly. But I hadn't seen anything like it before.
Well, I was trying to see if there was a familiarity at all, even a nagging. They made you feel comfortable, like you're part of them, and that's something that I've heard about and encountered in other types of experiences where there's the aspect we all are one, we are all connected. But sometimes these higher types of entities coming in and working with people, I know that they've worked with people even in ufology and UFO cases, or people that have dealt with not just what people think of as typical alien beings, but things that are more advanced than them, which take on an interdimensional type of non-physical body. These light bodies of light. And even if you look at, like, say, people who've had near-death experiences and they see what they describe as religious figures or Saint Michael or whatnot, and it occurs to me sometimes that maybe not. I think, like, they were trying to show you a form that maybe you're more familiar with and comfortable with. They just couldn't quite pull it off at that moment. But there are times when people claim that they've seen these famous figures in a near-death experience or whatnot. Possibly they're not. Maybe what they are seeing is these types of higher beings that take on a shape or something that is familiar to the person to make them more comfortable, or to even give information over. Are you going to accept some kind of new high spiritual concept from some strange guy you never met before, or some light being, or, hey, if Jesus comes along and tells you this, well, you know what? If you're Christian, you're going to sit up and listen to him.
Yeah, that's true.
I look at it like like what happened in Lourdes and Fatima with the visions of the quote unquote Virgin Mary. Well, these beings, if you get right down to it, never claimed it was the Virgin Mary. Just it was a woman who appeared. Being highly Catholic countries, they automatically said, "Oh, it's the Virgin Mary," and it kind of took on that form for them. But it was really giving across some other types of information. It was one of the ways that, when you get certain people, you want to give them some kind of image that they're going to trust, or they're going to listen to. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. I'm not sure what these were trying to do, because it was kinds of different shapes. And as Irene said, like growth, and it was really weird. It was almost in a constant state of movement, trying to find some sort of shape for me. I don't know what shape they were trying to form, but they were just constantly sort of trying to find a shape for me. But I wasn't scared of them at all.
Now, did that only ever happen the one time, or have you ever experienced anything like that since then?
No, unfortunately, that was it. Just that one time, Mark, and I can honestly say I'd love to see them again. They're the only thing I've seen that, you can deem unexplained or supernatural, that I think, I would so love to see you again. Because especially if they are some sort of light healing beings, if they do help with healing. I called them that in the book because I was trying to heal my friend when I saw them. So I made that connection. I thought, are they trying to help me heal here, But I haven't seen them since, but I'd love to. But I've tried a few times. And like I said, like you were saying, like when you try and see something or, nothing happens, it's always spontaneous with me.
Right. When you're trying to heal your friend, have you taken any types of training on that type of healing before?
No, it's just all natural. So I've read some books on healing. This is why, once again, I'm an amateur, really. But it comes natural to me. So I've read about healing, but I have my own thing that I do when I'm healing. And you can feel the heat coming off me and all. When I try to heal someone, they always say afterwards, "Oh, I feel so much better. That pain's gone away." But I'm not actually trained. I'm not qualified, which is why I don't do it a lot, because I don't know what I'm dealing with. So it's only if someone's really desperate and so, can you help? And then I think, okay, I'll try it. And it was on one of these times that these things appeared to me. And then once again, I thought, oh, maybe I should look into this healing. Maybe I should see if I can go and get a qualification or something in it to help heal people.
What gave you the idea to start working in healing on people? How did that thought pop into your head?
I think, Mark, it's because I healed my own hands. So because I was so desperate, as I said earlier, I had like contact dermatitis on my hands, and they were really bad. They were bleeding a lot, and the skin was all broken. And they tried all things. My GP was wonderful, and he tried steroids, creams. I was under the hospital for this UV light treatment, ray light treatment, and nothing seemed to be working. And I was desperate. And then I saw this book on Betty Shine, Heal Yourself. It was a book on this mind medicine room where you just, you imagine yourself going in there, taking out what you need. So mine was magic hand cream, rubbing it in your hands, locking the door behind you, and then, just keep doing it every day. It's almost like an intense form of meditation, pretending you're using medication. So I did it for a week, and like I said, my hands, they just almost went back to normal within a week. So I thought, wow, hang on, can I heal? And all of a sudden I thought, have I got healing abilities? And so I suppose it sort of stemmed from there. But it's not something that I flirt with a lot, because, whenever you try and do anything like that, I think you're always opening up a door to the other side, or to, the supernatural, or, so I try not to do that kind of thing a lot unless someone's really desperate. So I think that's where the idea came from, though, because I healed my own hands, through desperation.
As someone who has started to learn on healing myself, I understand that. I'm curious where, how you got the calling and being able that you were able to heal yourself, which is in itself is unusual. Not a lot of healers can heal themselves. They have to go to another healer.
Yeah.
Something to do with, dealing with the outside energies, because, the type of healing that I've been working with is, I kind of step aside and let other energies come through and work through me to do healing on people. So that in itself is very interesting, and the fact that these other beings showed up to try to. When they were there, do you feel like there was communication happening, like maybe on a psychic level? Did you understand what they wanted? Or do you feel like maybe you were given information even though you don't consciously remember it?
I know there's definitely some sort of communication going on with them. Like, I could feel their feelings. So I could tell at first they were all relaxed and they felt fine, and then they were picking up on my friend's fear, because I could feel them feeling fear all of a sudden. And even though they weren't telling me that they were feeling fear, and to stop my friend from being scared, I knew that's what they wanted. I knew that they wanted me to tell her to stop being scared. There was nothing to be frightened of, because I could feel their feelings. So I'm sure they could feel mine too.
Okay,
but,
so
they weren't giving me a message. Maybe they were trying to give me a message through their shapes. And I wasn't sophisticated enough in my mentality, or didn't have enough experience with them to understand what they were trying to do. Mm-hmm. But the feelings were raw, so I understood. I definitely had a connection with their feelings, but maybe the shape thing was lost on me. Maybe they were trying to show me something through the shapes, but because I'm an amateur, I couldn't pick up on the physical side of it. But certainly there was a communication going on. There was definitely some sort of psychic connection.
Now, how long ago did this happen?
Wow, so this would have been, trying to think of the flat that she was in. This was about 6 or 7 years ago. Okay.
After that time, after you saw these beings of light and working with your friend, do you remember having either an increase in either unusual dreams or feeling something was happening during the middle of the night? Or were you sleeping normally?
No, I mean, my sleep pattern's always disturbed, to be honest. So I wouldn't be able to say if anything changed after that, because I've had periods of insomnia, periods where I wake up at the same time, like 3:36. Every morning.
I know that one.
Oh, it's awful, isn't it? The witching hour. You wake up at the same time. So to be honest, Mark, even before that experience, my sleep patterns I've had periods of complete insomnia, and then I've had periods where I'll wake from a deep sleep at 3:36 for some reason.
I can go days without sleep.
Yeah, so can I. Yeah.
It's that higher level of energy that your body is giving off. You don't need the 8 hours of wonderful, lovely sleep that I always attain to every night.
I've had. Yeah.
He needs his beauty sleep.
Oh. Yeah, no, I've had. I'm like Irene. I've had loads. I've had loads of periods of non-sleep, and then just this weird waking up at a certain time every morning, in the early hours of the morning.
Yeah, that's me.
Do you hear a hum or a buzz at times?
Yeah, definitely.
You do?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
High-pitched sound when you're laying in bed.
Yeah, what is it? What's that?
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I do. Sometimes I hear like a hum.
Yeah. I just turn around and say, F
off.
Doesn't matter. F off, leave me alone. I'm going to go to sleep.
Just for an explanation, Irene gets that hum too. And usually there's some sort of communication that's
very high-pitched.
Yeah.
And she just gets annoyed with them and tells them to piss off and leave her alone so she can go back to sleep. She is a most incorrigible student.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it don't happen enough to bother me, but I have had that on occasion, and I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
So,
no. It's no, normally when you hear it, right, it's not long after that you're asleep. You know you're asleep after that.
yeah.
For some reason or other, I think to myself, I heard that last night and I don't remember anything a few minutes later. You know?
Yeah.
So I must have been asleep. It must have put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But normally, sometimes when I hear it, I think, oh, bugger off. I can't be bothered tonight, you know?
Leave me alone.
Yeah, naff off.
Yeah.
Anyway, so have you ever seen a UFO?
No.
No.
No. I know, I've heard, like, people have told me that they've seen UFOs. But personally, for me, no. No, I haven't seen a UFO.
Oh. Okay.
But I did have that weird experience when I was lying in a crop circle.
Yeah? Well, what was that?
Yeah, so I was in Avebury.
In real life, in a crop circle.
Yeah. I was in Avebury in Wiltshire, and we had this guide, and he's a crop circle expert. I think his name was Bunty. I can't remember now. And he took us on a tour of the crop circles. You can't do this now, but we could when we were there. But it's closed off now. You can't do this anymore. And he took us out to a crop circle, and we actually lay in this crop circle.
Yeah.
And while I can still feel it now, I was lying on the in the crop circle, and there was like a wind, and it was sort of gently stroking me. And then when I looked up, just about a foot above my head were loads of what I call diamond energy. They were like diamonds the size of freckles, and there was just loads of them just above my head. So, and it was almost like energizing. So I don't know if you'd class, I don't know if that was like a UFO. I don't know what that was.
How long ago was that then?
About 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was, we were there. Myself and 2 friends went, and my friend goes back there a lot. And she said, oh, Mary, you know, when we went for the crop circle and this guy took us and we could lay in them, you can't do that anymore.
No.
So, but yeah, he actually took us up. He's an expert in it. I can't remember his name, but he's an expert in crop circles. And we had a lovely lady guide for the day who was just talking to us all about the history behind Avebury and, like, you know, the stone circles and that kind of thing. And then he took us on a crop circle tour. Yeah. And yeah, he got us into, we actually were able to lie in one. And I saw it was about a foot above me. And I've only seen this once since. So it was like loads of, the only way to describe them is like just thousands of freckles, except made of diamonds. And they were all clustered together above my head. And I remember being on a plane once going to Amsterdam. And when I looked out the window, I saw these things again, just the once. So once in the aeroplane and once when I was lying on the floor in this crop circle. So I don't know if that could be classed as an you know, it was just like a massive diamond type things floating above me.
Wow. Well, you know what? We've actually run out of time.
Oh.
We've run out of show. So, Mary, your book is Seeing Spirits, and where can people Seeing Ghosts? Okay, where can people find that book?
It's on Amazon. So yeah, it's on Amazon. They can find it. Okay.
Well, we just again wanted to thank you very much for coming on the program and talking with us tonight. We had a lot of fun talking with you.
Oh, no. Mark and Irene, it's been an absolute pleasure. And it's gone really quickly as well. Yeah.
And you can be found on Facebook. And don't forget, people, Seeing Ghosts by Mary Elizabeth Brazil.
Yeah, that's thank you. It's been great.
If you can't find it, Google the name. You'll find it that way.
You will.
Okay. Well,
I thoroughly enjoyed this. I really did tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, everybody, for listening in. And we will.
Mark, go on. Tell them where they can find us.
They can find our podcast. If you miss our live show, you can catch our podcast on Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, Spreaker, Blog Talk Radio, and a million other different platforms. But there you go. We also repeat on Monday nights on the Dark Matter Digital Network. You can listen to us when we do our live shows on TalkStream Live, TuneIn Radio, and the Paranormal radio apps on your cell phone and mobile devices.
Okay, and we go out on Wednesday night on the Paranormal UK Radio Network and God knows how many other places.
That's what I just said. Okay.
Radio, TalkStream Live, iVoox, or wherever.
Okay. All right, everybody. Well, thanks a lot for listening. Have a great night. We'll catch you later. Irene, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, night, everyone.
Night.